using the safest practices in the industry. Speaking for West Virginia, coal provides approximately 50,000 jobs for those that work in the mines and the businesses that support them. It also accounts for over 50% of West Virginia's export product. To name a few, we employ engineers, teachers, physical therapists, accountants, truck drivers, high school and college graduates. All of these occupations and graduates have turned to the coal industry to provide a better way of life for them and their families. Everyone in our industry works long hours and days to provide a reliable energy product, and too many times it goes unnoticed. I've personally worked in the industry for 23 years. I choose to do this daily to provide my wife and children with the life that they deserve. Prior administrations have done all they could to eliminate the coal industry. Sorry, one second, I'm getting there. In my opinion, they have done so with an unethical and uneducated approach. But we are still strong, we are still here, and we are still needed in order to make America great again. Having a president and an administration that understands the need and importance of coal is more than appreciated. It gives the industry a form of reassurance to know that we have a president in place that supports us. From my family to the over 3,000 employees of AC&R, and for the coal companies, miners, and businesses throughout our great country that rely on the coal industry, we say thank you for your continued support. I personally thank you for what you do for our country and for our industry. It has been my pleasure to be here today to help you usher in the golden age of America.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You did a good job. Let me have that speech. I want to have that.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of good lines in there when I came on. Now, actually, what I want to do, I'm going to sign it for you because I mean, he worked hard. Look at it, and look how good his eyes must be to read that.
I lost it once.
And hopefully you can sell it tonight for a lot of money.
Oh, sir, I'll keep that one.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeff. And also with us is Tony Campbell of the East Kentucky Power Cooperative, and Tony's quite a gentleman and very respected in the industry. Come on up, Tony. Thank you.
Mr. President, on behalf of East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, and electric cooperatives across this America, thank you for your leadership to restore American energy dominance. Electric co-ops keep the lights on for 42 million Americans across 56% of the land mass. We are owned by the communities and businesses we serve and provide electricity to growing communities, new data centers, and manufacturing plants. Mr. President, electric co-ops are powering America, and we are proud to partner with you and your administration to power America into the future. Our electric cooperatives in Kentucky understands the importance of reliable, affordable, and American-made energy, especially coal and natural gas. Coal fuels most of the electricity generated by our cooperative. America must keep coal plants open and running to ensure reliable electricity when we need it most. To meet growing demand over the next decade and ensure fuel security, America will need more always available electric generation power, such as coal. And we want to recognize the hardworking American men, women that support our mission. To all America's line workers, our coal miners, thank you for your dedicated service to our country. Affordable and reliable electricity is a cornerstone of our economy, especially American manufacturing. However, too many government leaders have pushed policies that have made our electric grid significantly less reliable and our energy too expensive. That begins to change now. Your actions today will prevent the premature closing of essential power plants and help us meet tomorrow's energy needs. And they will help us continue to deliver reliable, safe, and affordable electricity. Mr. President, thank you in particular for providing immediate, much-needed relief from the Biden EPA regulations that would force the shutdown of critical coal units. Finally, I want to say congratulations on the all-star energy team you've assembled. Electric co-ops have already been working with Secretaries Burgum, Wright, and Rollins, and Administrator Zeldin, and we are excited for all we can accomplish together. Mr. President, thank you again for your actions today and for your support for the electric cooperatives as we work to keep the lights on in America. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate it. Every day under the Trump administration, we will continue to lower costs for American families, create jobs for American workers, and very importantly, unlock unlimited amounts of affordable American energy, including, as I said, and I'll say for the last time, beautiful, clean coal. Our country is blessed. Our country is blessed with the most abundant natural resources on earth, as nobody has what we have. And we're going to use it too. We're going to use it in a very responsible way. Together, we're going to tap that magnificent potential to give our people the glorious future that they deserve, better than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they had a good future, a little, if you look 20 years ago, they thought they had a good future. It was ripped away from them, torn away from them with nonsense. And we're not going to let that happen. This is going to be a glorious future for them. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank you and you and you and that whole group and our senators, by the way, and our great congressmen and women for being here in such a large number, because you've been helping us make these decisions. These are big decisions. And this is a really big one. And this is one that's going to be, I think we're going to look back and with great pride at what we've done today, not just in putting people to work, but at really reawakening our country. And thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much.
Come on up. Mr. President,
Yes, please, first one.
we have 4 items prepared for your signature this afternoon, sir. The first of these executive orders it may be one of the most significant executive orders of your administration thus far. This directs all departments and agencies of the federal government to end all discriminatory policies against the coal industry. This ends the leasing moratorium that prevents new coal projects on federal land, and it's going to accelerate all permitting and funding for new coal projects to allow the coal industry to flourish under your leadership, sir.
That's great. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, there are currently dozens of coal plants in America that are in imminent danger of being forced to close based on unscientific and unrealistic policies enacted by the Biden administration. What we're going to do is essentially impose a moratorium on those policies taking effect to protect coal plants that are currently operating, to ensure that they're able to continue producing power and continue providing jobs to Americans in the coal industry.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sir, you've made grid reliability and security a key focus of this administration. This executive order is going to promote grid security and reliability by ensuring in part that our grid policies are focused on secure and effective energy production and energy transmission, as opposed to woke policies that discriminate against secure sources of power like coal and other fossil fuels. Lastly, sir, one of the biggest problems we have in this space is Democrat states, radical leftist states, enacting policies and enacting an agenda that discriminates against coal, against secure sources of energy. Many of these policies are unconstitutional and illegal, and with this executive order, you're going to be instructing your Department of Justice to vigorously pursue and investigate these state policies that we believe are illegal or unconstitutional.
Good. Thank you very much. Great job. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good.
Live from Texas, this is the Will Cain Show. We live in a world, and we've just experienced a week, where a post on Truth Social from President Donald Trump can move equities markets by the trillions. You just spent an hour and watched President Trump sign executive orders at the White House designed to reinvigorate the United States coal industry. It's part of a larger push to unleash American energy. Why coal? Well, coal historically has been reliable and affordable. It's also been criticized for its pollution. And as a result, it's become an industry in decline. Today, Trump's message is loud and clear. We have it. We have to use it. Among the executive orders signed today, he put in place orders that should make coal designated a critical mineral, promote the sale of coal to foreign friends, direct government agencies to identify coal resources on foreign lands, and prioritize leasing and lifting barriers to mining on federal lands. This now is roughly a decade after the war on coal under President Barack Obama. That was part of a larger trend that saw coal reduced to about 15% of U.S. power generation. A little over 20 years ago, it represented 50% of total U.S. power. I mentioned one of these executive orders is unleashing the ability to mine coal on federal land. Take a look at this. In 2023, there are only 279 federal leases spanning 422,000 acres where to access coal. Back in 1990, that was 489 federal leases spanning more than 730,000 acres. And it wasn't just President Barack Obama that continued the war on coal. Under President Biden, coal was part of the greater push against fossil fuels that included permanent bans on offshore drilling, standards for gas water heaters, you probably experienced that, approval of offshore wind farms, heavier regulation limiting pollution allowed from tailpipes, mandating 50% of all new vehicles sold be electric by 2030, and limits on gas appliances. So, this is much part of a much bigger story to unleash American energy, deregulate, at the same time putting into place these tariffs we've heard so much about. So joining me now to try to put this picture into perspective is the host of Varney and Company, Stuart Varney. Stuart, you just listened to the president for an hour. Big event here designed to unleash American coal. Your thoughts?
Yep. I think the president is engaged in a revolution. He is dramatically changing the world trade situation. That is the centerpiece of his economic policy. He is correcting unfair trade. He has showed us that other countries tariff us far more than we tariff them, and he is determined to change that situation. He's making a lot of progress. Japan, South Korea, Britain, Brazil, they're all negotiating in good faith. The South Koreans are sending a big delegation over here, so is Japan. That's a negotiation in progress. Vietnam, Taiwan, India, Thailand, they have all made concessions. 70 countries are lined up to do deals. He's bringing in, so he said a moment ago, $2 billion a day. But China, they have retaliated. The intense negotiations there, I don't know how they're going to work out, but that is intense. Now, there is opposition to this. Elon Musk wants no tariffs. He wants them swept away. Wall Street is not keen on it. There are billionaires lined up. They don't like these tariffs. And some in the GOP, Rand Paul, for example, they don't like it. But there is no going back. We cannot go back to the old system, which did not work for America. This is going to work for America, and he is making progress. That's where I'll leave it.
You know, Stuart, it seems to have at least two motivations in hand. One is to rebuild the American middle class, our national security, our industrial base here at home. There also seems to be, as you pointed out, an attempt to thwart the ascendancy of China. Empires rise and empires fall. Many have been predicting the rise of the Chinese empire for several years now, decades in fact. The Chinese are on fragile ground here, I would think. If they keep retaliating and he keeps raising prices, he keeps raising tariffs, you're looking at a problem in the Chinese economy that threatens everything that they have built.
Yeah, that is correct. China has a difficult situation economically at the moment. They're recovering from a housing slump, a housing bust. They've all kinds of demographic problems as well. And they're coming out of the pandemic, which really locked everything down for a long time and made them rather unpopular. At the moment, they could be isolated. If Japan and South Korea are doing deals with America, where does that leave China? At the moment, it's an intense negotiation. It's a standoff between the two. President Trump doesn't back off. He cannot back off. You can't back off in the middle of a negotiation, because if you do that, you'll lose the negotiation. So it's going to be very intense. But if China is isolated, that's a big problem for China. They've got one already. It's not going very far. I think they've got a problem. At the moment, I think America is making a lot of progress in this tariff war.
Well, you mentioned a little bit earlier that Donald Trump during this ceremony said we are taking in $2 billion a day right now in tariff revenue. Watch.
For those of you that want to know the tariffs, you've been hearing about tariffs, we're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals.
You know, Stuart, you also mentioned the way that Wall Street CEOs and billionaires feel about these tariffs. Here's what the markets did today. They ended the day, the Dow down 0.8%, the S&P down 1.6%, and the NASDAQ down 2.1%. This is a snapshot. Markets are a snapshot. They're a picture. They're a short-term. Warren Buffett famously said, in the short term, they're a voting mechanism. In the long term, it's a weighing mechanism. It's a scale. So what does this weigh out over time?
Let me give you a snapshot from yesterday. There was a fake report, a false report, that tariffs would be suspended for 90 days on everybody except China. When that news hit the market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average went up 1,000 points in 2 minutes. That shows you that the market investors are looking for good news. They want good news, and if they get it, the market goes up. At the moment, there is a considerable worry about the future, a recession, for example, higher inflation. That's a worry that Wall Street always has to deal with. But they're waiting for that good news. Good news on tariffs, which will give us a major rally on Wall Street. There you go.
All right, Stuart, you can get more of that. Catch him 9 to noon on Fox Business. It's always a great show. Stuart, Ronnie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Will.
All right, it's time for Will of the People. In the short time we still have together, Adam says, curious, does it affect your pay when our great president walks all over your show? Like, do I get a dock in pay, Adam? Is that what you want to know, if I only have to do 10, 15 minutes of a show instead of an hour-long show? No, thankfully, it's not a dock in my pay. But it does feel a little bit like a chef who makes an entire meal and only gets to serve you the appetizer at the end of the meal. The rest of it goes straight into the trash can, or it's leftovers for tomorrow. Another user says, you need to get a new time slot for your Fox show. The president and the White House are always putting your show on the back burner. I don't think it's personal. SoCal true. I think that the president has his own schedule with a lot of different factors that come into play on when he can get to certain events. I'm not offended, but I wouldn't mind, if he picked a few other time slots to vary it up in. But he's always welcome here, of course, on the Will Cain Show. Thanks for being with us here today. We're always welcome to have you, where we get to the heart of the matter from the heart of America. Coming up in just a moment, The Five.
Here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here. I mean, my only problem is I'm not sure I have enough. If I told them about making those deals 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 5 years ago, they'd be laughing at us. Now they're all signing up.
The greatest president ever, telling other nations the water is warm. And just like one of Kilmeade's parties, you don't want to be the last one in the hot tub.
President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world.
Amen.
I think that right now we're managing a massive number of requests for negotiations.
I've seen the call list at the White House, and it's substantial. We were having a discussion last night about which countries to prioritize, and I think you are going to see some very large countries with large trade deficits come forward very quickly.
Nerds. And MSNBC finding a way to smear Trump voters as racist amid the tariff negotiations.
And we chose a felon because we didn't want to elect a black woman.
Oh, nonsense.
So to read
Shame
that,
on you.
to actually explicate that, is to say we would rather destroy the Republic
Oh,
than
nonsense.
for that to have happened.
What a jerk.
Well, that's not hyperbole, Dana.
No, it's not.
He's sane.
I mean, what would he have said, 10 years ago if he believed what the left believed was that this was a great strategy?
Yeah.
Would he have been wrong then or right then? I mean, this is the thing that kind of drives me crazy. Like, I've been consistent. I said I'm skeptical of the whole thing, but I would also add this. We need the deregulation to continue under DOGE and at the cabinet agencies, not just with DOGE, but that is going to definitely help the economy in the long run.
Absolutely.
Number two, we absolutely need to figure out the budget and the tax cuts, get those done. The Congress is trying to work that out. I think that they're getting closer, but we had, I think, 10 to 12 Republicans who are saying, I don't like this whole way that this is going. They took them to the White House today and tried to put the squeeze on them. I don't know if that will work. And then you have the trade thing. So there's 3 prongs of this strategy. You actually need all of them to work. You might not like one of them, You might like two of them, but if this is going to work the way the White House says it's going to work, you actually need all three, and they need to be moving at the same time. And it would be helpful, I think, for everybody if the messaging was consistent. And it is interesting and kind of fun to watch internal White House arguments. Those usually happen behind closed doors. Right now, we're watching them right there in front of us, which is pretty open and transparent, unlike what you've seen in previous administrations, for better or worse. If it is a negotiation or it's not a negotiation, on and on. My bottom line is this: the Congress needs to figure out the tax cut thing, and quickly. You have to have the cabinet agencies moving forward on deregulation, and then hopefully the trade thing gets worked out pretty soon.
It
and
is
you
great.
have all three prongs.
It's a great point. We are watching the actual fighting in front of us.
It's being made right in front
yes,
of you.
and before, they just hid Biden. His decay from us, Jesse. I think that the media and politicians in general are just shocked that a president is fulfilling his promises. Is that
Absolutely.
it's no surprise to anybody who voted for him that this was going to happen. He told you this was going to happen, and like Dana said, you might not like one thing, but the overarching thing is what you
And
voted
my liberal
And it's what
press
Democrats have been voting for
and
for
friends,
decades, and Trump's
I
actually
don't
been
love them,
doing it. You said
but
something
they are
yesterday,
way off
Greg,
base
and you reminded me of
and
Ross
out
Perot.
of reality.
Yes.
Not your size, but what you
This
said.
is good,
And I looked
what's
back at the
happening.
debate with Bush
America
and Clinton, and Ross was
has
in the
woke
middle,
up
and he said, you
to
can have
wake
our
up
companies go south,
to godly
and they
principles.
can pay workers $1 an hour,
Do it
not
right.
give them any health care, have no environmental regulations, have no pension, and you can make a ton of money. And what you're going to hear is a giant sucking sound coming south. And that's what happened. And the sucking sound also came from the east, and that's China. And now you're seeing what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to destroy China. Because if you break the Chinese economy, you put America back on top. Remember, the Chinese thought they were going to overtake us? It's not going to happen if this thing goes through. If you can cut off their exports, they're toast. You can't export all these cheap products here. You're definitely not going to sell them into Europe because they don't have the consumer power. And so the Chinese economy, they can't consume their own stuff because they don't have enough wealth and they don't have enough families, to be honest with you. And so you're going to have to lay people off, and then the whole country's going to disintegrate. So that's a good thing. And then you're breaking China off from Russia because this Chinese economy is feeding the Russians. And right now you drop oil to $60 a barrel. So it starves Putin's war machine. And then you separate those two countries. So look what we're doing also at the same time in the Middle East. You have the Syrians, now they're on our side. They're proxies, now ours. And then you have carriers surrounding the Iranians. And we're saying you better negotiate, not nuke up, or we'll bomb. And if they can do a deal there, that's the second Russian proxy that falls. And we'll get that Iranian oil back on the world market, and it keeps the price of oil going lower. We need cheap energy. And then the Europeans, they don't have another game. They have to sell here. They can't sell it anywhere else. And what you're seeing is the EU trade bloc starting to break. Hungary's trying to do a bilateral deal. Your English are going to start trying to just negotiate directly with us. And it splits Germany from France. And then you throw in the Greenland thing.
Of course.
And then you throw in the NATO thing, because right now Pete Hegseth's going, we might bring some troops home. So they're really off kilter. We've now surrounded the Chinese. They thought the Chinese were going to cut deals with the Japanese and the South Koreans. Didn't happen. Thought it was going to cut deals with the Europeans. Didn't happen. And Trump sent Hegseth down to the Panama Canal. He's saying it's ours. And we're wrestling TikTok away from that country too. Everything is moving perfectly at the same time. But Dana's right. You have to have the tax and regulation cuts in order to finish it off.
That was very thorough. I wasn't listening, but it sounded thorough.
It's the giant sucking sound. We're trying to stop that.
Yes, the Jesse sound, as we call it here. So, Harold, your hero, Jim Cramer, said that the stock market action predicted a Kamala Harris victory last year. He also told people in 2012 to sell Netflix. And then he said that Monday was going to be a Black Monday. Why do we listen to these people? Why do they continue to lie to us? Why do we take them seriously? These are your people, Harold. Your so-called financial experts. I don't even think I'm going to let you answer that question.
Good to be back with you. I listen to these guys, and I listen to people talk politics. I listen to people talk sports. I listen to people talk business. And then you know what? You actually watch the game. And we've had the game be played now for the congratulations to the Gators, by the way. We had the game be played in the markets. Since inauguration day, we've lost $12 trillion in our market, almost a little more than 12 trillion. Number two, the S&P, which is the collection of 500 of the biggest companies in the country, and people invest in that part of the market. It's now below 5,000 for the first time in a year.
In a year. And so it was lower a year ago.
It was.
Okay.
So, but if we like, so you can be critical.
When you said how many trillion did you say?
12 trillion.
What's the total out of the total? I'm curious. I don't know.
It's probably about 80 trillion. So
Okay.
we lost 12.
Uh-huh.
Now, we said we want to break China. We want to break China. And we think we might. The problem is we may break ourselves first. Now, I think when the president talks about this, the thing that confounds me the most is he makes it seem that there's a binary choice for us to be able to do the things that all of us around this table, I think we can agree on. We want more jobs in America. We want to produce more things here. We want to produce more critical things here. So we don't have to rely on any nation to do that for us, whether it's a pandemic or not. The challenge is there have to be other options in order to achieve this. I listened to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, this morning. And I tell you, he gave the market some confidence. The market opened tall this morning. It was regaining and trying to gain some of the momentum back. And then what happened late this afternoon, message came out of the White House. I think it might have been from the press secretary, who I'm impressed with, Carolyn Levitt. She said that the President Trump is committed to placing an additional set of tariffs on China this evening at midnight, which would actually take the tariff rate up on Chinese goods to 104%. That's when the market began to turn. Now, you don't have to be that smart to realize that maybe small business leaders, big business leaders, consumers, retail investors, they didn't like that. So if that is the challenge, the president ought to be more focused or solely focused on getting a deal with other countries, or getting a deal with China, or getting a deal with countries that will force China to come to the table. I just don't want to see us lose another $5 to $7 trillion. I don't know how you get a deal once you've lost $20 trillion that actually helps the very people that you really want to help. I'm not rooting against you, Mr. President. I'm rooting for you. And in part of rooting for you, I'm saying to you, suggesting to you, maybe try a different tack than what you're trying right now.
You're saying you're non-binary.
I'm saying, that's your takeaway?
Yes. Judge, I don't think there's any leader in my lifetime that's decided to risk, his approval to make hard decisions. I think that this is not a decision that is superficially virtuous or vacuous, and I don't think the media understands that.
They don't understand that. They don't understand Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump is winning the day, okay? The day started off well. And for all those people who said last week, he needs to back off the tariffs, they don't understand Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not back off anything. And right now we've got countries that are willing to deal, countries that are willing to negotiate, countries that are calling him up, flying over here to deal with him. And when people say, the people on the left, and I'm not talking about you, Harold, but people who say, it's all about the rich people and all this nonsense. Donald Trump went around this country. He traveled the country, talked with real Americans every day, and he understands the shrimpers who lost out to Southeast Asia, and he understands the ranchers who are losing out to Australia, and he understands the steel issue and how important it is to our national security because he's been through COVID, and he understands the supply chain. But if Donald Trump only cared about himself and lining the pockets of the rich, why would he be fighting like he's fighting right now? Why would he be doing what he did in the White House today with those coal miners? And let me tell you something. Donald Trump knows where the short hairs are, and he knows where to pull them.
Ouch.
Okay, yeah. And in the end, what you've got is, you remember during the Biden administration, all those coal plants that were being developed in China to build those lithium batteries for those electric cars, they can't supply the coal that they need for those coal-powered plants. They need America. Donald Trump knows it. China doesn't have the ability to purchase the way we have the ability. So, you know what? And let's not be so quick to forget where we were with the Biden administration, with interest rates were at 7%, costs outpaced wages, and the millennials didn't care about their credit cards because they figured we could never afford a house. So these tariffs are literally a transition to the golden age. The man is negotiating, offering concessions to some countries. And you know what? If you want to retaliate, good luck to you, because Donald Trump is not panicked, and neither should we be, because he's bringing us to the golden age, Harold, and that is the end of it.
2 more days of this, and we'll be longing for the Biden day.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you kids. Ahead, bad news for some bad hombres. Supreme Court clears the way for Trump's deportation flights to El Salvador.
The Supreme Court giving Trump a major win by backing him on deportation flights, allowing the president to continue using the Alien Enemies Act to rid the country of TDA and MS-13 rapists and murderers. Trump calling it a great day for justice in America. And the White House celebrating the SCOTUS smackdowns.
Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country.
These liberal district judges thought that they could control our entire country's policy. These flights will now continue. These terrorists, they are foreign terrorists. They are alien enemies to our country, and we will continue to deport them. We are going to keep America safe, and a liberal district judge is not going to stop us.
All right, so let's go to the lawyers here. Judge Janine Boasberg, the judge here, lost pretty significantly.
He lost pretty significantly, and he also got a slap down from the Supreme Court, which basically said, you know, you are a district court judge, the lowest level of a federal court judge, and you were in Washington, D.C., and you somehow think that you have jurisdiction over someone in Texas? I mean, like, where did you go to law school? I mean, this is as clean a slap as you can get over the arrogant, pontificating these local district court judges who think that they should have the ability to not only subpoena the White House, but to determine what's going to happen across the United States. And it is also a message that no longer will you be able to forum shop and think that you're going to impact the whole of the United States. But what the Supreme Court did do is they recognized the Alien Enemies Act. They recognized the legitimacy. They are going to allow the continuing deportation of those. The only issue is, number one, are you a member of TDA? Number two, are you over 14? And number three, are you in the United States? And if so, we will deport your fancy tail back to El Salvador. El Salvador.
Didn't the Supreme Court also say that these guys, some of them have a right to challenge their deportations, Harold?
Well, building on the judge's point, I'd say it was really a mixed decision in 2 ways. First, you're right about the Boasberg. They basically said, the court said these cases have to be heard in Texas, which is likely the right. I agree with that. In fact, I agree with everything the court said. You have to accept it too. What you're saying is all these people will now have to have a proper hearing. So you can't they can use the act, but you have to have the hearing.
That's annoying.
It's annoying when the rights are respected. And three, interestingly, I read the dissent too. It was a 5-4 dissent. You know who joined the dissent? There are three.
Yeah,
Amy Coney Barrett joined the dissent. You should read the dissent. It's an interesting.
I did read it, Harold. You should read the dissent.
You should read it again then. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, Amy Coney Barrett is catching some heat for siding with the liberal justices on this one.
Yeah, but look, remember, no notes. Everybody thought she was smart then, and all of a sudden they don't like her. But next week when she rules for them, they'll like her again. And it's sort of like with Boasberg. He doesn't need to be impeached because he got overturned, and that's just the way that the system works. Next week he might agree with the Trump administration, but the best thing is that this shut down the left's forum shopping for all sorts of these things, right? So instead of saying that is the real victory. And here I am to tell you more about it. So for example, when the president wants to fire federal workers and someone says, nope, I'm gonna go and file a lawsuit. Where should I go? Where should I go? Where should I go? And they pick, that judge is likely to agree with me, and they file it there. That's how you get these national injunctions that don't make any sense. The Supreme Court said, no more of that. You have to deal with it where it happened. So for example, with the gang member guy, that's going to be in Texas. For that guy, if it's another one, another place, that might be in Wyoming. How do you think that's going to go? etc. So I think that is kind of the most important thing, and I'm hoping that that might also lead to the ability to stop the forum shopping for tort cases, which drive up the prices of everything in America on everything else.
Constitutional scholar Greg Gutfeld.
That is a great idea for a TV show. Deport Court.
Deport Court.
I would watch the hell out of
Tonight on
Deport
Fox
Court.
Nation.
Yes, I could be the judge. What does it take, Judge? Really, you could probably teach me everything.
Oh, yeah, in a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
I missed the debate over the deported guy. He's a Maryland dad. No, he's a gangbanger. Come on, kids. Why can't he be both? I mean, he's selling fentanyl in the day. He's changing diapers at night. Feels like a Netflix special. Anyway, every one of these guys that leaves means crime goes down. You may not be able to measure it, but there's one less victim. There might be more than one less victim, but it does work. You're actually taking a criminal out of the country. When we look back at this whole travesty at the border, we can now see how simple and direct it is to solve. But Biden told us it couldn't be solved. So you're going to have to pass a bill, and then it's going to take months. Matter of weeks, Trump cleans house. It doesn't just illustrate that Trump does what he says, but it exposes everything that came before that. Another huge lie, another a cover-up to enable the destruction of a foundation of our country, which is the border. Look how easy it is to fix. Right now, you're seeing the media asking various Democrats, what did you know and when did you know it? And it's about Biden's brain. You can apply that to every scandal. The lab leak, what did you know and when did you know it? Hunter bereavement, what did you know, when did you know it? You can do it here with immigration in a couple of years. Well, we say that about when did you know about these night flights that were bringing these gangs in? Because I'd like to know about that. When did you know that we were bringing in criminals that were raping and killing people? I want to know that. There's so many issues that just kind of went forward without anybody bothering to ask questions.
Maybe the House Oversight Committee should have hearings.
I think they should.
Night flights should be day one.
Exactly. Or on Deport Court.
Deport Court.
I want to be the bailiff.
You could be my bailiff.
Yes, you could be my bailiff.
I wonder if these Texas judges side with Republicans or side the president wants it, they'll say, we'll accept that as a national decision. I think the real point is you accept what courts say, and I accept what the court said here. The law is the law.
That was boring here.
That was
a great last word, Harold.
Yeah, wow.
The law, you should say it too.
We gotta go. Up next, rising Democrat star Jasmine Crockett endorses illegal immigrant slave labor.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking about our honeymoon. What about Africa? Safari, hot air balloon.
The Democrats are starting to sound more like shock jocks than serious lawmakers as the loudest voices in the room step into the leadership void. Rising star Jasmine Crockett is the MVP of attention seeking, and she's defending the need for illegal immigrants with this shocking take.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Democrats can showboat all they want, but at the end of the day, they are lacking that authenticity that makes President Trump a hit with the voters. Even Bill Maher gets it.
Trump really is one of the most effective politicians, whatever you think of the policy and him as a person. Always lean in to being more who you are. The people are not savvy about issues, but they smell a phony a mile away. Democrats have to come up with an alpha, and it's not Tim Walz.
Okay, Greg, why is it that only Mars sees that there's no masculinity in the Democrat Party and the rest of them can't see it?
Oh, Jasmine was pretty masculine there. I think authenticity is, I guess, linked to action. Like you get to know somebody by what they do. And I think right now the Democrats are a collection of lightweights, theater kids who, instead of actually going to class, focus on the external appeal of identity politics. She's changed based on identity politics. It's never what I do, it's who I am. So this new guy comes in, Trump, and he does stuff, who acts instead of, acts. So by comparison, you can kind of see their grift. They seem very silly, and having an allied media that enables you, it doesn't help, because like when Harold comes to the 5, it's like he comes to the gym. His ideas, he has to work out his ideas because there's opposition. But for most Democrats, all Democrats, outside of Fox, they don't have that gym. They don't go out and work out. So you have Jasmine there, basically using the same justification for illegal immigration that you would for slavery. It's just a few iterations in between. It's also the driving force for a lot of globalism. I really love my iPhone and my Nike shoes, as long as I don't see the ages and the condition of the people making it.
Okay, Jesse, what do you think of the idea that we need illegals because the blacks aren't picking cotton anymore?
Well, I don't like that idea, Judge, and I think it's pretty racist. But whether it's a guest worker program, whether it's people that come here seasonally, I guess some jobs in agriculture, you have to have the people south of the border do it, but that's not really the issue. That's not the jobs they're taking. They're taking actually good blue collar jobs all over the country. Look at the south side of Chicago. They didn't want them there, and it's driving down wages, and she should know better. But Greg hits on a key point in his kind of roundabout way.
True.
Authenticity is obvious on the right because we do the work. We will sit for an hour or 3 on a podcast and let it rip. You can't hide on a 3-hour podcast. You can hide if you're a Democrat in the press because they'll just baby you and they won't ask you anything and they won't even debate you, but it is primal. You can smell the authenticity. You can smell the masculinity.
Yes.
Is it deodorant? Is it musk? Is it some sort of cologne that Harold has on today? I don't know.
I want the record to reflect.
It's just the natural musk of Harold.
Stephen A has it. Stephen A goes live and no holds barred, and that's why he's rising. That's why Marr, as wimpy as he is, gets it. He'll smoke and he'll drink and he'll let it go, but he understands the formula. And the formula now in new media, direct to consumer. You get real politicians that tweet, they talk, and they podcast, and you can either know they're legit or not. Right now, the Democrats aren't legit, and everybody knows it.
Harold, Stephen A says that he has no interest in running, but he's going to keep the door open just in case no one shows up. What do you think of Stephen A as a candidate?
Look, I think everybody should run. I say that ideas at the end of the day have to be what inform and what influence and what stimulate a campaign. I've tried to say for the life of me, I don't understand why these members of Congress and the Senate who are really specializing in the energy stimulation space, but aren't yet in the idea space. We've talked about on the show, I don't understand why we're not out saying we want to build 20 million new homes for Americans who, as we see aging homes and people moving into the workforce, we want a 5% cut in every agency across the country in the federal government. We want to scale what's working, reform what can be reformed, and scrap what's not. Take taxes off the first $50,000 of earnings on the payroll tax and up the payroll tax to $500,000 to pay for it. We now scrap it out at about $200,000. Make wealthier people pay a little bit more and let those working people, like the president wants to do, on no taxes. He is giving us an opening because he is so preoccupied with what I think is an ineffective way to bring business and jobs back to our country with his tariff plan. Let's get focused on issues. I don't need a history lesson on slavery. What I do need is to tell me how we're going to inform people, educate people, and make people's lives better by helping them make more money.
So you're going to endorse Stephen A?
I like Steve. I like First Take. I love to hear his plan. If he likes these kinds of things, I think he'd have a better chance of being a politician.
All right, Dana, the talk of Michelle Obama entering the presidential race was something where everybody said, whoa, in 2024. But she can't even keep a podcast going.
This was Jesse's favorite topic, and I think you still owe me something for that. I'm pretty sure. I bet we bet 100 times. Michelle, I didn't even know Michelle Obama had a brother. And now she's doing a podcast with her brother, and it's not getting anywhere. I mean, honestly, is she looking for something to do? Here's the way that she could get attention. I came up with this morning on
Don't say
Newsroom. I've
Marion.
been thinking about it all day. No, that only works for a certain congresswoman. Remember Michelle Obama had the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls?
Yeah.
Right? When those girls were
Yes.
kidnapped in Nigeria. And she was right to care. If she cared about America's girls and women's sports and was willing to say something, she would be a hero.
Boom. Take that, Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
No,
They
take the
agree.
idea and run
Smack
with
you
it.
in
Do
the
it.
face.
No. She should do it. We want her to do this.
But
If you care about girls' sports and women's
It's almost
sports,
too late.
do it.
It's too late. She missed the boat.
Yeah, I agree. It is too late.
It would
But
have
you
been
know
nice.
what?
You're absolutely right. It would have been nice.
She can still do it.
It's too late for everything
But I
because she
feel
was
like-
so hot a year
But
ago.
somebody on the Democratic side at a high level needs to come out and say, and that can't just be a congressman from Massachusetts. It needs to be somebody at a high level who says, we got this wrong. Should be Kamala Harris, you want a future? You do it. But somebody on that side needs to do something because these girls should not have to basically get to a final in a competition and have
And
to
then-
take a knee
Yep.
because they're going to lose to a guy.
Definitely. And up next, liberals are trying to cancel John Stamos for going to Mar-a-Lago.
I'm Allison Lundberg, strategist at AmericanEagle.com. Wagner came to us with a goal to make their website user experience seamless and simplify access to product information for customers. We build enterprise websites like this all the time. Through a fully integrated digital transformation, WagnerSprayTech.com is now a fast, mobile-optimized website with an engaging user experience. For complete website and digital solutions, go to AmericanEagle.com.
There's a new front in China's war on America. Illegal vapes for children. Bubblegum flavored, some with video games. Banned in China, they're smuggled into America and sold illegally to kids. What's in them? Unknown. China makes billions selling illegal vapes to our kids. Biden did nothing to stop it. But with President Trump's leadership, we can.
I hear it all the time. People tell me they'd love to buy gold, but because it's gold, they think it must be complicated. It isn't. Not with Rosalind Capital. With Rosalind, the entire process from start to finish is built on one concept. One, keep it simple. Rosalind Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals. Gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you preserve your wealth. Call Rosalind Capital at 800-630-8900 to receive your free Rosalind Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and silver brochures. With Rosalind, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and our shipping is fast and reliable. Remember, keep it simple. Make gold your new standard. Call Rosalind Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Ponvory is approved for the treatment of relapsing forms of multiple sclerosis in adults. Ponvory lowers the number of white blood cells, lymphocytes, in your blood. Usually, this will return to normal within 1 to 2 weeks of stopping treatment. Ponvory can increase your risk of serious infections that can be life-threatening and may cause death. Ponvory can cause your heart rate to slow down, especially after you take your first dose. Do not take Ponvory if in the last 6 months you had a heart attack, unstable angina, stroke, or other severe heart conditions, including certain types of from normal heart rhythm. The most common side effects of Ponvory include upper respiratory tract infections, elevated liver enzymes, and high blood pressure. Starting treatment with Ponvory will begin with the starter pack. Ask your doctor about Ponvory or visit ponvory.com to learn more. By Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
If anything happens to me, I don't want my family to stress over money. I searched best online life insurance, and Ethos came up. It took maybe 10 minutes. I got covered 100% online. Ethos made it fast and easy to protect my family.
Check your price at ethos.com.
Found a sweet dentist on ZocDoc. Dr. Staff is a real beauty, and people say he's passionate about dentistry.
Dr. Sales on 33rd Street? You could practically skate there. Booked it.
Sweet.
You've got options. Book now. There are many ways to deliver a shipment. At Old Dominion Freight Line, we deliver them this way. This way uses technology and goes the extra mile to do things the right way. The delivery promises on time, every time way.
Once upon a time, there was this family. I ate them with every ounce of my soul.
They're monsters. We're all monsters. Marmalade, new series now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The liberals are trying to cancel Uncle Jesse, and I don't mean Waters. Full House star John Stamos forced to defend his choice to MC a charity event at President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida after a left-wing backlash. But Stamos says supporting frontline heroes like nurses is not political. And if that wasn't a window into how the left is coping with 47, James Carville is now comparing Donald Trump's allies to Nazi collaborators.
What the country is going to feel toward collaborators with this regime, maybe you need to go in history and see what happened in August of 1944 after Paris was liberated. They didn't take very kindly to the collaborators. No.
Okay, Greg, start with Stamos and get me to Carville.
Stamos has not been forced to defend anything. This is what drives me. Why do you care about people that are upset over this? That means their lives are empty. They have nothing going on. If something, oh my God, Stamos did a fundraiser, but like, you know what? He's not even thinking about you. That's the sad part, that you would be upset. As for Carville, today the N-word is now being put upon a person who thinks differently than you are. If you were some ignorant kid, you might assume that Nazis were just people who held different beliefs from you, because that's how it's used today. The left has shrunk the horrors of the Holocaust by equating Nazis to somebody who's in a red hat. It's destroyed everything. It goes down to identity politics, right? It chips away at who you are as a human being. Now it's an application for a club. You have to fill out an application and tick which boxes to be seen as a human being by the left. And if you don't meet the requirements, they can say anything they want to you.
With somebody like Stamos, Judge, he's got power, fame, lots of friends, everything, so I'm sure he probably doesn't personally care, but maybe good for people to see that he doesn't care.
Yeah, I agree, because when they see that he doesn't care, I mean, then, you know, they're going to realize how powerless they are. If they don't realize it already as a result of the election of November 2024. I mean, they are powerless. And they told us for years that Donald Trump was a Nazi and that he was Hitler. By the way, who has he killed lately? I haven't figured it out. But, you know, but the fact that they can turn a charity into something controversial, when they had the Clinton Foundation that never even had a forensic account analysis. And the same thing with sports teams. I mean, how dare you go to the White House if you're a sports team like the LA Dodgers went apparently this past week. But it has nothing to do with politics. It's about honor and ceremony. And they make everything political, and it's not. And nobody cares.
Well, maybe he cares a little bit, Jesse, because when he talked about this, he said supporting nurses isn't political, it's essential. And then he said, but if you don't want to donate to Palm Beach Ray of Hope, then please consider donating to Democracy Forward, which is one of the most radical left-wing lawfare organizations out there.
I just can't believe he took two girlfriends to the ball.
Yeah.
And that's the Uncle Jesse I respect, though. Dana and the judge, obviously. probably Harold too, not Greg so much. Do you understand the charity circuit in Palm Beach?
Yeah.
You go to things, whether it's at Mar-a-Lago or John Paulson's estate, you're invited, and the venue is less important than the cause. And as anyone knows around this table who is into charitable giving, except Greg, it doesn't matter. You go, and there's Republicans and there's Democrats, and those are the opportunities for both parties to get there and save the whales, or the nurses, I'm not going to say it, but he's an 80s guy, and where better to be than at Mar-a-Lago with another 80s guy, Donald Trump. It just works for me. It just works.
That's working for you. Is it working for you, Harold?
I agree with everybody. I'm not anything. I like the guy. I don't care where he decides to go to support a charity. The charity is a great charity, and I think you said it well that he supports a charity that's probably on the other side of the political spectrum because that's what he does.
How fair and balanced of you, Harold.
Yeah.
Boring. Just kidding. Up next, isn't it a good idea to bring back killer extinct animals? We're gonna fire up about that.
That's new.
Join me, my friend.
What are you doing?
We are living la vida loca.
Oh, do you mean the Dolce Vita? Is this your idea?
Enjoy the intense flavor of LaRosa Dolce Vita.
Oh, that's it.
Is this Las Vegas?
Venice.
I'm confused.
That is good.
Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be using this. Particle 6-in-1 face cream for men. First of its kind anti-aging cream designed specifically for men. Fights eye bags, dark spots, and wrinkles. Visit ParticleMen.com and use the promo code on your screen to receive 25% off your entire order. Plus, we've got free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. www.ParticleMen.com. Because seeing is believing.
With Fast Signs, see the visual possibility in your business. With signs and graphics, you can say anything. Transforming your space begins at our place. Fast Signs, make your statement.
When we started feeding Bogey, the farmer's dog, he lost so much weight. Pre-portioned packs makes it really easy to keep him lean and healthy.
In the morning, he flies up the stairs and hops up on my bed. In the past, he would not have been able to do any of those things.
Tonight on Ingram Angle, it's Trump's big tent party. The Angle talks to a political lefty who's gone MAGA. Ooh, don't miss it. That's tonight at 7.
Hi, Mike Huckabee here. Having spent many years in politics, I can comfortably say that the current climate is enough to keep any of us awake at night, and I safeguard my well-being by making sure that I get a good night's rest with Relaxium Sleep, America's #1 trusted sleep aid.
Relaxium Sleep is made in the U.S.
Tonight, President Trump says the government is taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. He says he's making what he calls tailored deals with countries. The market chaos eased a bit today, but it was a roller coaster on Wall Street. Stocks were up more than 1,300 points at one point in today's trading session before settling in the red. The Dow finishing off 320. The S&P 500 was down 79. The Nasdaq lost 335. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich starts us off tonight live from the North Lawn. Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening, Brett. The president says he wants tailor-made custom deals, nothing off the rack, and the press secretary confirmed everything is on the table for discussion, including things like foreign aid and U.S. military presence. We are told the callback list is long, officials are prioritizing allies, and things are getting frosty with China.
Japan is flying here to make a deal. South
Korea's flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
Markets rallied on fresh possibilities for new trade deals in short order, but gains were erased by the closing bell after China held firm on its retaliatory tariffs, calling threats of U.S. escalation a mistake on top of a mistake and vowing to fight to the end. Trump punching back with another 50%, bringing the total tariffs on Chinese imports to 104%.
I believe that China will be forced very soon to come to the table.
The president posting on Truth Social, China also wants to make a deal, badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. But the U.S. trade representative had a different take.
Other countries signaled that they'd like to find a path forward on reciprocity. China has not said that. And we will see where that goes.
Some Republicans getting antsy after Goldman Sachs estimated a 45% chance of a recession in the next 12 months, up from 35% last week.
Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Trade advisor Peter Navarro with a bold promise.
I guarantee no recession.
Not completely echoed by the White House.
Does the president agree with him on that? I know the president in the past has been leery of making definitive statements on that.
I can speak for the president, and I can speak for the optimism that he sees in our economy every day. But don't forget, the next side of this is tax cuts, and we're counting on Capitol Hill to get those done.
Elon Musk dismissing Navarro as a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks after Navarro dismissed his critique of the tariffs as a personal problem tied to his need for cheap foreign car parts.
Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history.
Tonight, the president drew on emergency powers to try to give the coal industry a renaissance, invoking the Defense Production Act to boost leasing, mining, and exports. He also called to designate coal as a critical mineral to strategically stabilize steelmaking coal for both national security and economic stability. Brett.
Jackie, tonight a judge has ruled that the White House cannot continue to ban journalists and photographers from the Associated Press at its events. Break that down for us.
That's right. The Trump-appointed judge said that the White House ban violated the First Amendment by blocking the AP from spaces where other journalists are admitted because of the AP's refusal to adopt the renamed Gulf of America in its style guidance. The judge writing this, while the AP does not have a constitutional right to enter the Oval Office, it does have a right to not be excluded because of its viewpoint. And the AP says that it is exactly what is happening. The court agrees. Indeed, the government has been brazen about this. And the court did not order the White House to grant permanent access for the AP, but said that the AP can't be treated worse than the other wire services. So far, the White House has not responded. Brett.
Okay, Jackie Heinrich, live on the North Lawn. Jackie, thank you. Here's some other headlines tonight. The U.S. Supreme Court is blocking a lower court order demanding the Trump administration return to work thousands of federal employees who were let go in mass firings aimed at dramatically downsizing the federal government. A federal judge in California had ordered 16,000 probationary employees be reinstated while a lawsuit plays out, saying their firings did not follow federal law. The High Court's order will keep employees in 6 federal agencies on paid administrative leave for now. The Keystone oil pipeline was shut down this morning after rupturing in North Dakota. Authorities say the spill is confined to agriculture field. The cause of that rupture and the volume of the oil spilled not immediately released. Crews are searching through rubble for survivors after the collapse of a roof at an iconic nightclub in the Dominican Republic. At least 44 people died there. 160 others were injured. The accident occurred early this morning as politicians, athletes, and others were attending a merengue concert. Among the dead is a former longtime Major League Baseball pitcher, Octavio Dotel.
Here we are finally starting to see inflation ease, and now we have these potential government payments or just the added cost from imports due to tariffs.
We have tractors and equipment. There's a lot of things that over the next year or two, if these tariffs stay in place, prices will probably increase for us.
The market's going to adjust itself. We're going to have the highest quality beef in the world, which we do have. So if we have fair trade, that will eventually come back to us.
Well, some farmers are concerned, others are optimistic. Joining us tonight, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Madam Secretary, thanks for having us.
Oh, Brett, thank you for being here, and welcome to our home at USDA.
And we'll give a tour throughout the show. I know you just came back from the White House, meeting with the president. What is the reaction to not only the market's reaction, but where he thinks we are right now with the tariff situation?
Well, that's right. I literally just walked in the door, came back over from the White House. I was just with the president earlier and a lot of the team on other issues, not on this issue, but being with him. He is resolute. He is convicted. He has never been more confident that these are the right steps to take. And I think, Brett, what's important for the people that are watching this and you know, sort of thinking through what this means for America, realizing that this is not new. The president's vision goes back to Alexander Hamilton and 1791, when he talked about America and our government should not be a neutral arbiter, but instead be a fervent promoter. Those are Hamilton's exact words. And again, the president sort of circling back to that to realign the economy is all in.
But I guess there are a lot of questions about how these were structured. Are these tariffs designed to generate revenues for the country, or are they designed to negotiate each of these countries down to something more palatable for U.S. products and more palatable for U.S. companies?
These tariffs are designed to completely realign the American economy around putting America first. So I think the answer to both of those is yes.
So it's a combination?
I believe it's a combination, but this is the way President Trump thinks, right? It isn't a down this lane or this lane. It's an all of the above approach. You know, we're talking about tariffs now, and I'm the Secretary of Agriculture, and how our products are unfairly treated around the world. But it isn't just about the tariff, it's about how the EU treats our beef, how Australia won't take, you know, our beef, how some countries won't take our corn. And it isn't a tariff question, it's just an unfair trade practice and using unfair barriers to trade. So this is an all of the above approach across the cabinet. We are all hands on deck. I mean, just today I had Ireland here talking about trade with the Irish. The president's taking phone calls. I'll take more phone calls tonight. And I know certainly other cabinet members are too.
Yeah, we covered this earlier. There is a very public spat between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro, and the White House press secretary said boys will be boys, but Musk really wants 0% tariffs between the U.S. and Europe. Navarro clearly not. Whose side are you on?
Well, here's what I will say about that. By the way, let me tie it back to Abraham Lincoln and Team of Rivals. Abraham Lincoln created the U.S. Department of Agriculture, right? His spirit is very much alive here. But I think back to his cabinet all those years ago and had a lot of disagreement, but that was the way he made decisions. And President Trump is exactly the same way. He doesn't want a bunch of people that agree with each other. He wants us to disagree, and then he makes the ultimate decision. And neither of them, in my opinion, are wrong. At the end of the day, in the long term, free trade, I think, is perhaps the goal. But right now, we are so unfairly treated and have been for years. To realign around that and to fix it is what President Trump is working toward.
How soon do you think we could hear about some of these trade deals? I know the Treasury Secretary said the calls are coming in, many of them.
70 countries as of today. It was 53 days ago. I think we're up to 70 today.
So I know that doesn't happen overnight.
I don't think it was
but,
me,
you know,
was
the
it?
inside working, especially when you're talking about agriculture products. Is it going to take weeks? Is it
Watch
days?
that little
Is it-
napkin there.
You know, the market clearly was very receptive to wars that may happen.
That's right.
That baby,
That's right.
or not baby,
I
but
believe, and no one really knows, right? There's no
Josie
crystal ball,
Pitts,
but I believe
she,
it will be sooner
threw up
rather
there,
than
and I-
later. I think it's
and
important to
I
understand
tried to
we're
wipe
only
it
on
up
day 4
best I could.
in the market since the president made this massive, game-changing, disruptive, transformative decision when he announced
Did
it
they
in
say
the Rose
anything?
Garden. Clearly, he's been talking about it since he came down the escalator.
Well, I
30
got
years ago, he's
most
been
up,
talking
I
about it,
think.
but since he's been running for president
You just
all
see a
these
little bit
years,
there.
but I believe sincerely
You know,
it
right
will be
there where the
sooner
white is,
rather than later. I
the
believe
light
we'll be
colored
hearing
thing.
about new deals that are being
No, the
struck,
other way.
perhaps by
Down.
the end of the week.
Now,
but
over.
we will see,
Now,
and
over.
listen, this is a long-term
Poke your
battle for the
fin-
future of
poke
America.
your
Let's
finger
talk about
out
some
there.
of those farmers' concerns. We heard some
No,
of them
no,
coming into
up
this
this way.
piece. The Wall Street
Come
Journal
right up
has
that little white
a
line.
farmer on a possible bailout
No, the white
from
line.
tariffs. We hope there will
That's
be a
it. Come
bailout.
up
Barry
further,
Evans,
further,
who
further, right
farms
there.
sorghum and cotton on 5,000 acres in Texas,
I don't
sits
see a
on the board
thing
of
there.
directors
Well, I
for
cleaned it
the
up, so
sorghum
I guess
grade,
maybe I
trade grain.
maybe I
trade
got it
deal.
all.
If we don't get something,
Thanks
it
for
will be
this.
quite a disaster. I know you were around in the first administration when Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue and President Trump came up with roughly
John, I
25 to
noticed
28
shutting
billion
the car
dollars
door,
in
there's like
help for
a
farmers.
little ding or
Are you
something on
expecting
the
that
car
that's
door.
going
Do
to
you
happen
remember dinging
again
it
this
into
time around?
anything?
So we just don't
Somebody
know,
dinged
but
into
if
us.
it
That's
looks
it's very
as if,
unnoticeable, but I
the
just, because I was
course just
shutting the
planted,
door because the
we've got a
door
whole
was
planting
dinging
and
and I
growing
was trying
season
to
to
figure
get
out why.
to.
And
We
all of a
begin
sudden
to
I looked down
understand
like,
full implications
or it
later
should be
this summer,
perfectly
early this
straight.
fall.
It's
But this
not.
president
I don't know
is
nothing
so
about that.
confident, first in his plan, but
Maybe
also in
it's
his
a dump
backing of the
things out there, I don't
farmers,
know what
that
it's
there will be some sort of program if it is necessary. Our goal is that these decisions are made very quickly, that we begin to see the unleashing of the American economy in ways we've never seen before, and that a massive driver of that is our farmers and ranchers and the products
You want a
that
plate?
we are sending around the world.
Let me get you a
That
plate.
to this point, again, have been so unfairly treated that now it's a new day.
But you know there has to be congressional buy-in to that, and you have a House Republican caucus that seems upset that not more is not being cut from the Senate bill on dealing with growth agenda. So getting 25 billion out of that group seems like it might be a heavy lift.
You know, Brett, one thing I will say is that since being named Agriculture
I don't know if I got
Secretary,
a straw in here or not.
designee November 23rd of last year, and then moving through the process,
Yeah, there's a
going through my
straw
confirmation
somewhere.
hearings, what I have been really encouraged by and somewhat surprised is the not just bipartisan but non-partisan nature of agriculture. That
I don't see any
Republicans
sauces,
and
though.
Democrats, you know,
Well.
whether it's Adam Schiff from California or Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota,
You had to
whoever
ask
it
for
is,
'em,
that
but don't worry about
everyone,
it, I don't need
agriculture,
it.
if it isn't the number one driver in their state, it's 1, 2, or 3. So I do believe that if necessary,
good to
and
me.
if the
Okay,
farmers
there's
are
a straw in
in a
there?
lot of hurt because of these tariffs for the short
Maybe
term,
a
the long
second in my
term, this
little
will work.
bag. Oh, don't worry
For the
about it.
short term, that we will work with
Not
the Hill,
necessary.
to make sure that we've got what we need to back up and mitigate that damage.
Seeing what you're seeing now, do you think prices will go up? I know we talk a lot about egg prices and you've seen them go down. The weekly average price just for white large shell eggs just went up 26 cents. But you are importing a number of eggs to meet the shortage, and there's like 328% for the month.
I don't see
imported,
those
almost
eggs for $3
450%
anywhere here yet.
importing more than over a year ago,
Still-
and obviously some of that from Turkey and Mexico is hit by a tariff now.
Well, true, but what I will say is this,
right,
we have
buddy.
been working on the egg
You're
issue,
taking
obviously,
care
since we
of
started
it.
a couple
You
months
take care
ago.
of them.
We
Okay.
released a big, bold plan on A, how to combat the avian flu, B, how to deregulate.
I had a really
and
nice
provide these
visit, but
crazy
I don't know why,
regulations
John. I
out
feel like
here
I've been
at
beat
USDA
up.
that caused the prices
I mean,
to
I
go
literally
up.
feel
Even
beat
aside
up.
from the avian flu, we saw those prices
Taking on another person's all their
decline. But
problems,
while
too.
that's happening, we also put forward massive repopulation. So as those egg layers were wiped out, repopulating more quickly. So we'll see the market react to that. Will those eggs be tariffed coming in from Turkey or South Korea, wherever they are? Yes, they will, but the market in America is already adjusting. So I believe that you won't see a significant increase or maybe even an increase in the price of eggs in the coming weeks, that we feel pretty confident in where that is.
U.S. Or foreign-owned farmland in the U.S. It has gone up quite a bit. There's 445 million acres, but between 2010 and 2023, foreign investors increased by 85%. There's a lot of concern about China. They own 384,000 acres of American agricultural land, some near U.S. military bases.
That's right.
Is that a problem?
This is a massive, massive challenge, I believe, for our country. And it isn't just a challenge for our farmers and our farmland. It's a national security issue. Food security is national security. When we can't feed our own people, then you see the great decline of other great civilizations across the world and across history. So I believe personally that this is one of the most important challenges that we're going to be facing. We've already begun to think through what solutions look like. I am a massive 10th Amendment supporter, the laboratories of democracy. The states have already begun to make significant moves, Arkansas, South Dakota, and others on this exact issue. But I think that we at the federal government, as much as I like to push things back to the people, that is something we're going to really need to look closely at. And I've already begun conversations on the Hill about just that.
Madam Secretary, we'll talk in your office in a bit. Thank you for letting us be here and tour this beautiful building.
What a joy. Come back anytime. We're so happy you're here.
Thank you. Up next, a youth soccer coach accused of killing one of his players was apparently in this country illegally. We'll take you to Los Angeles for a live report. But first, a bit of a history lesson about the Agriculture Department headquarters. The Agriculture Department is the only federal agency located on the National Mall. Abraham Lincoln established the USDA in 1862. It's actually the fourth oldest agency still in existence. State, Treasury, and Interior were established beforehand. USDA was known as the People's Department. Began with just 28 employees. Now employees here are nearly 100,000. During the Civil War, cattle grazed around the unfinished Washington Monument. It was nicknamed the Beef Depot Monument. We're standing in front of the main agriculture building. It's connected to the South Building, which was actually one of the largest buildings in the world at one time. It has more than 4,500 rooms, 7 miles of corridors, and 2,300 clocks, including one that spells out the 11-letter word agriculture in place of every number except for XX. If you're keeping time, we'll be back in just a few minutes here to Special Report.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you qualified to do this?
What? Especially when it comes to your finances.
Are you a certified financial planner?
I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP.
Once upon a time, there was this family. I ate them with every ounce of my soul.
They're monsters.
We're all monsters. Motherland, new series now streaming on Paramount.
Has officially asked the federal judge to dismiss a lawsuit against the use of the Alien Enemies Act to justify deportations. This comes in the wake of last night's Supreme Court decision that we brought you on Special Report as it happened, allowing the administration to proceed with the removals. A hearing was scheduled this afternoon and later canceled. The justices say from now on, alleged gang members must be given the opportunity to contest their deportations, but it must be on an individual case-by-case basis and only in the places where they were being detained. Meantime, the Homeland Security Department and the Internal Revenue Service have come to an agreement to permit ICE to access taxpayer information to locate illegal immigrants subject to deportation. The Trump administration filed a memorandum of understanding late Monday with a court to create guardrails and a process for ICE requests to the IRS to further investigations of criminal illegal immigrants who have failed or refused to leave the U.S. 90 days after a judge has issued a final order of removal. Breaking tonight, we've learned that the Los Angeles area youth soccer coach charged with murdering one of his players is an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. Correspondent Bill Malugin has the latest on this story tonight from Los Angeles.
A harrowing sight in Southern California as the body of a murdered 13-year-old boy is found dumped along the side of a road. His name was Oscar Omar Hernandez, and police say he was killed by his youth soccer coach, 43-year-old Mario Edgardo Garcia Aquino. Multiple law enforcement sources tell Fox News he is an illegal alien from El Salvador.
Why did he have to kill him? The pain of losing a child is so great, I would never wish it on anyone.
Police say on March 28th, Hernandez took a train to see Garcia Aquino, but never returned. His family reported him missing 2 days later, and his body was found 5 days after that. The Los Angeles County District Attorney announced murder charges against Garcia Aquino Monday, with a special allegation of murder during the commission of lewd acts with a child, making him eligible for the death penalty.
Our role, though, is to bring justice to this family.
You believe that?
And to hold the person responsible
No, I
for
didn't hear
these
what was said.
brutal, heinous,
You'll have to
unspeakable,
tell me.
unthinkable acts.
Be careful, I'm filming.
This isn't the first time
I'm
that
filming.
Garcia Aquino has been
It's
on
okay.
law enforcement's radar.
In February of 2024, Garcia Aquino befriended a Silmar family who allowed their juvenile son to stay with him at his residence in Palmdale. The family subsequently filed a criminal report alleging sexual abuse of their child.
But no action was taken at the time. No arrests, no charges.
The police also knew that he had committed another crime. I still can't believe what happened to my brother.
And Brett, on top of the murder charges, the DA announced today that Garcia Aquino is also being charged with that separate sexual assault of the other teenage boy more than a year after it was first reported to police. And DHS is telling Fox News in a statement, they say Garcia Aquino is a, quote, depraved illegal alien who should have never been in this country. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malugin in Los Angeles. Bill, thank you. Up next, new information about one of the assassination attempts last year against then former President Trump. But first, everything you ever wanted to know about Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
Smokey Bear just celebrated his 80th birthday with the Forest Service, which falls under the USDA, and it created this icon back in World War II. After Pearl Harbor and a Japanese submarine attack near Southern California, many Americans feared shelling could set off forest fires on U.S. soil. Smokey Bear was created to inform people about how to prevent wildfires, and he's been spreading that message all over the country for decades. He's actually traveled to the International Space Station to monitor wildfires in Utah and Colorado, and he has been a regular fixture at the White House for decades, which is why he is also known as America's first bear. Another bear, no relation. Special report continues after this.
You're going to tell him a great story.
Has the latest developments.
In a motion filed Monday, the government says 1 month prior to Ryan Ruth's alleged attempt last September to assassinate President Trump at his Palm Beach golf course, Ruth tried to purchase a rocket-propelled grenade or anti-aircraft missile from an associate he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. Communicating through an encrypted messaging app, Ruth allegedly asked his associate to, quote, "Send me an RPG or Stinger and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine." He sent the associate an image of Trump's campaign plane, writing, "Trump's plane, he gets on and off daily." And the government argues Ruth signaled his intent when he wrote, "I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected." The two also discussed Thomas Crook's attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania in July 2024, with Ruth writing, quote, "I wish." The filing does not identify who Ruth was communicating with or whether it was actually a Ukrainian with military connections or anyone he met when he traveled to Ukraine in 2022 in a failed attempt to join a volunteer fighting force. DOJ lawyers also allege Ruth attempted unsuccessfully on multiple occasions to purchase a military-grade .50 caliber rifle, and the motion outlines Ruth's communication with a human smuggler in Mexico regarding an escape plan. In a separate motion filed yesterday, Ruth's attorneys are seeking to dismiss 2 of the 5 total charges against their client relating to firearms possession, citing Second Amendment rights. This trial is set to begin in September. Meanwhile, Brett, it's been a month since President Trump said in the Oval Office he wants a full accounting of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania from the FBI, but so far, no indication of when we can expect something. Brett? Yeah, Griff, we'll keep pushing for that there and on Capitol Hill as well. Griff, thank you. There is a major fight, meantime, tonight in Colorado over transgender rights. Democrats have passed a series of controversial bills out there. They say protect their rights. But Republicans say the measures limit parental rights. Senior correspondent Alicia Cunha is in Denver tonight with the latest. Good evening, Alicia.
Good evening, Brett. The bill passed out of the Colorado House says if a parent misgenders their own transgender child, meaning referring to them by their sex at birth, or dead names, calling them by the name the parents gave them at birth, then a court could consider that in custody cases. Quoting from the summary, when making child custody decisions and determining the best interests of a child for purposes of parenting time, a court shall consider dead naming, misgendering as types of coercive control. The legislation goes a step further by adding the terms to the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. House Republicans in the minority here accuse Democrats of ramming through controversial legislation in a Sunday session with the help of procedural votes that block debate. Opponents call the bill misguided and a threat to parental rights.
This would
Certainly
allow a
is.
parent who may be navigating an incredibly complex and emotional issue with their child to lose custody for not affirming a gender identity they may not understand, agree with, or believe is in the child's best interest. This is not protecting children, it's weaponizing the courts against parents.
Democrats insist a new law is necessary to protect transgender kids and the parents who support their identity during custody battles.
This bill really shores up and clarifies existing laws and protection, ensuring that for parents, the act of supporting their child's gender identity cannot be weaponized against them. This bill is truly the least that we can do.
The next stop for the bill is the Democrat-controlled state Senate, then on to Democratic Governor Jared Polis. We reached out to Polis's office for a statement and are still waiting to hear back. Brett.
Alicia, thank you. Up next, the panel with the latest on the tariffs, trade, the market's reaction. We'll be back here at the Agriculture Department after this.
Americans are anxious. Nobody looking at their retirement accounts today is feeling anything close to liberated.
The American people trust President Trump.
I don't like the thought of waging a trade war with the entire world, and that's what we're doing right now. So that's against everybody.
A lot of reaction to the tariff policy, what comes next. The markets jittery today, at one point up about 1,300 points, finishing the day down 320 in the Dow, and then you see the S&P and the NASDAQ. The headlines, much like this, stock market losses accelerate into the close after relief rally fails. Trump awaits call from China, but aides say deal not likely before 104% tariffs hit. And are Trump's tariffs a negotiating tool? Depends on whom you ask. We're going to ask our panel. Josh Holmes, co-host of the Ruthless podcast, former chief of staff to Senator Mitch McConnell. Olivia Beavers of the Wall Street Journal, and Josh Kraushaar, a Fox News radio political analyst. Josh Kraushaar, I've got two Joshes on here. Let me start with you. The president says he is resolute. Here is the agriculture secretary about, I pressed about whether this is about negotiating or about taking in revenues.
He's been talking about it since he came down the escalator. Well, 30 years ago he's been talking about it, but since he's been running for president all these years. But I believe sincerely it will be sooner rather than later. I believe we'll be hearing about new deals that are being struck perhaps by the end of the week, but we will see. And listen, this is a long-term battle for the future of America.
So maybe some deals by the end of the week, Josh Kraushaar.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the essential question, Brett, to the Agriculture Secretary, whether these tariffs are a negotiating tool to actually lower the overall tariffs with other allies, with other countries, or whether this is about revolutionizing the economy and really preparing the country for experiencing economic pain for long-term, as the president sees it, gain. We've been seeing a lot of mixed messages from the administration. I think it sounded like the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, was on the side of this is a negotiation. The Treasury Secretary had some very encouraging comments today that the South Korean delegation is coming to the United States. There are good negotiations with Japan. So there may be some progress made, but these negotiations take time, and the tariffs are going to be going into place scheduled for midnight tonight. So there may be a lot of time before we get clarity on where this all ends up, and that could mean a whole lot of time, a whole lot of weeks where the market goes up and down depending on the status of these negotiations.
Yeah, a couple of Trump supporters in the past with a Wall Street Journal editorial, a win-win exit strategy for Trump on tariffs from Arthur Laffer and Stephen Moore, offers nations truly reciprocal free trade, zero barriers, zero subsidies. Who better to pull off what could be the greatest art of the deal negotiation in world history? It would restore a free, fair, and unfettered global trading system. Everyone, everywhere would get richer. The U.S. Trade Rep, Olivia Jameson Greer, up on Capitol Hill, getting grilled about all of this today. Take a listen.
The president's strategy is already bearing fruit. All of this is in the right direction, particularly as we start to negotiate with these countries.
Have we seen one of the worst drops in the stock market in over 35 years?
I think, and Senator Warner talked about
move
this.
on. If you don't want,
well, I know everyone's concerned about Wall Street. I'm just concerned about Main Street and getting these jobs
let's
back.
talk about this. A novel approach. It needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear.
Senator Tom Tillis wants to choke somebody, Olivia. What do you make of Capitol Hill's reaction?
I think it was quite a timing for Greer to be on the Hill. There is, I think, broadly a wait and see approach by Republicans. Democrats are definitely being very critical of how the markets are reacting, but Republicans sort of seemed in that hearing to be pushing them to be going to the negotiating table, which you have seen the White House shift in terms of its messaging. Senator Ron Johnson also said, are you aware of, companies that might get bankrupt because of your tariff policies? So there were some warnings. I think there was some maybe frustrations being vented. Tillis is probably going to be in a tough re-election race. So there was probably also a viral moment for him to secure there. But it really was about them sort of nudging them towards the negotiations that they say they're going to start approaching.
Josh Holmes, a public spat between two figures dealing with all of this, Elon Musk and Peter Navarro. Navarro was on CNBC saying that Musk is not a car manufacturer, he's a car assembler because he has parts from South Korea and other places he puts together in Texas. Elon Musk taking to X saying Navarro is truly a moron. What he says here is demonstrably false. Tesla has the most American-made cars. Navarro is dumber than a sack of bricks. And the White House press secretary is saying boys will be boys, and we're the most transparent administration. They're going to argue in public.
Yeah, listen, I think that Carolyn Levitt is right here in that this is sort of what you get when you have this level of transparency. It's also a byproduct of the wide array of opinions that this president solicits when he's making economic policy and everything else. You get two ends of the spectrum here on almost everything, Navarro on one side, Musk on the other. Let me just say back to the discussion we were talking about a second ago, Brett, in this seemingly divergent messaging out of the administration about whether tariffs are good or whether they're a means to a larger negotiation. I think that that's set up by design in a lot of ways. You're not going to go into a negotiation with another country basically telegraphing that you need to get out of this and you need to get out of it as soon as possible. I think the president is messaging this and that he's in for the long haul, unless in fact you come to the table and you want to make a fair deal, in which case I think markets would react incredibly favorably to that.
Yeah, one of the things we were looking at is what this means for the big beautiful bill, the negotiation on the tax deal, deregulation, and whether this holds Republicans together, maybe galvanizes them because of the impact of the tariffs. The president taking to Truth Social saying he had a very good meeting today with the Speaker of the House and some of our more conservative members, all great people. I let them know I'm for major spending cuts. We're going to do reductions, hopefully in excess of $1 trillion, all of which will go into the one big beautiful bill. I, along with House members and senators, will be pushing very hard to get these large-scale spending cuts done, but we must get the bill approved now, make America great again. That's dealing, Judge Kraushaar, with some of the pushback from House Republicans saying there's not enough spending cuts in the Senate bill. And, you're talking about all kinds of things that are happening. The Agriculture Secretary talking about $28 billion in farmer subsidies and help in the wake of the tariff stuff. It seems like there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, look, I think the sequencing could have been reversed, where you get the big, beautiful tax cut bill stimulating growth, and then you can deal with the negotiations over tariffs when you build up that political capital. I think the challenge that the White House is going to be facing, and they're already hearing it a little bit on Capitol Hill, is that because of the controversy over the tariffs, there certainly is momentum, and there certainly is a desire among Republicans to get that tax cut part of the bill passed, but there may be more spending as a result of the tariffs in terms of bailing out farmers, bailing out ag, and there are a lot of nervous Republicans. I mean, you talk to any farm state Republican right now, the political capital is being sapped up and having to deal with constituents and anxious farmers wondering what their future is going to hold. So, look, there are a lot of Republicans talking about the need to stimulate growth, get that tax cut, get the big, beautiful package done. But because of the political complications with the tariffs, it may have made it harder for Trump to get his party in line.
Yeah, Olivia, what about that premise quickly about whether this tariff thing is going to galvanize Republicans on this vote or whether it's going to empower the folks that have problems with it on spending cuts to be more bold in their opposition?
I mean, like House GOP leadership is definitely trying to use that to make their case to their members, but they have quite a few House Republicans, so much so that they don't necessarily have the votes if all Democrats vote against it like we expect them to. But after the White House meeting, some came out and said they were still no's, so they're still working on it.
All right. Panel, thanks so much. Up next, one of the most beautiful views on the National Mall. But first, getting to know Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Here in the Agriculture Secretary's office. Madam Secretary, thank you for having us.
Well, welcome. What an honor to have you.
What a great office.
Thank
Tell
you.
us what we're looking at here.
Well, listen, first of all, I think I have the best office of all the cabinet. We're the only office on the National Mall. It's just extraordinary. So here you're in the Secretary of Agriculture's office, which I just happen to be in right now for the next few years. These are my kids.
Four kids.
Four kids. This is the reason I do this. Luke, Jake, Anna, and Lily. The gun up above, that was made by my 5th great grandfather. He was a gun maker in the 1700s up in the Northeast, and there's actually correspondence between him and General Washington.
Wow.
Asking how many guns he could make, and he responded in writing. He said, listen, my normal course is 20 guns, I think, per month, but for the great cause of the American Revolution, I'm going to double that to 40, and I'm going to pay for it myself.
Wow.
So there are only a few of those in existence, but we got one.
Show us this wall.
All right, let's go over here, Brett. I had the extraordinary honor of being part of President Trump's first term. The president gave his entire senior staff these mementos and these great pictures of some of the work we've done together. Up above, you'll see one of his old schedules. So I'm really into color coding, and I was kind of in charge of his schedules in the last White House, so what the themes were.
You went on to become CEO and the president of America First Policy Institute, which really set the table for a lot of the executive orders and stuff that we're seeing now right out of the gate, right?
It did. So I founded, launched, and ran the America First Policy Institute for the intervening 4 years, and we prepared. But it's a 100-year plan on how we save America, and so that was an awesome opportunity.
So now we'll walk over here. This
Okay,
33rd Secretary of Agriculture, sworn in by Justice Clarence Thomas. Had to be a big moment.
That was a huge moment. Listen, I'm from Glen Rose, Texas, population 1,200. Somehow they let me into law school at the University of Texas. Somehow I got a clerkship. So I had obviously been inspired by Clarence Thomas for my entire life. And so to be in the Supreme Court, to have my hand up with my husband and kids and entire family there with Justice Thomas was a full circle moment.
She looks like a very dynamic, nice lady, doesn't she?
I don't know how she's going to do that with a
Again,
family
I have
of
the
4
best view. Not only the
kids.
best
She's
office,
an
but the best
attorney
view.
by trade.
Every day I look out and I'm reminded of our founding fathers and their relentless, their never-ending, fearless courage in fighting for liberty and freedom. And so the Washington Monument right there, I'm always inspired by our country, but when I get to see that every day in this testament to General Washington, I'm overwhelmed and humbled and just so grateful.
Madam Secretary, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Special report continues after this. The Forest Service. Stairs a little tight. It's a little old. Used to be home to a lot of different agencies in this building. The U.S. Forest Service has been here since 1990. This building was originally constructed to house the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in the late 1800s, and several different agencies have been based here over the past 100 years. The U.S. Forest Service is the largest agency inside the Agriculture Department. If you make it all the way to the top, and it is an effort.
stairwell.
You do get one of the most extensive views up here on the National Mall. You've got on one side the Washington Monument, on the other side the USDA building. That's it for our show from the USDA. Tomorrow we'll be up on Capitol Hill as some lawmakers are getting a little queasy about Trump tariff policy. The U.S. Trade Rep will be up there on the House side. We will continue these tours through different agencies around Washington, introducing you to the new leadership in the Trump administration. And remember, if you can't catch us live, set your DVR. 3 p.m. in the West Coast, 6 p.m. on the East Coast. If you want to follow me on Instagram and X, it's @BrettBear. We've got you covered. That's it for this special report. Fair, balanced, and still unafraid. The Anger Mail starts now.
Fantastic.